Hello, my girlfriend said. I'm pregnant. I replied, that's amazing. Then I revealed the DNA test she had tried to hide, showing the baby wasn't mine. It belonged to her so-called gay best friend. I exposed the truth at a family dinner. I didn't know whether to smile or panic when she said it. We were sitting at the small dining table in our apartment, takeout containers pushed aside, her phone face down for once. She had that look, the one she used when she was about to drop something big and expected a reaction. Not nervous, not excited, almost smug. I'm pregnant. For half a second, my brain shut off. Then instinct kicked in. I stood up, pulled her into a hug, and said the thing you're supposed to say. That's amazing. She didn't hug me back right away. She stayed stiff, like she was waiting to see if I'd flinch. When she finally wrapped her arms around me, it felt delayed, performative, like she was stepping into a role she'd already rehearsed. I'm 26M. She's 25F. We've been together almost 3 years. Lived together for one. She's always been sharp, opinionated, the kind of person who calls it honesty when she's actually just cruel. I learned early which topics weren't worth pushing back on. Kids had never been one of them. She pulled away and immediately started talking logistics. Doctors. Timing. Who we'd tell first. She didn't ask how I felt. She told me how he felt. You're happy, right? She said, narrowing her eyes just enough to make it a test. Yeah, I said. Of course. What I didn't say was that something felt off. Not the pregnancy itself, the timing, the confidence, the way she'd already decided how this story would go. That night, she fell asleep fast. I didn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying the last few months in my head. Her late nights. Her girls-only weekends. The way her so-called gay best friend Mark had suddenly become a permanent fixture in our lives. Always around. Always touching her arm. Always laughing a little too hard. She told me I was paranoid. Controlling. He's gay, she'd snap. Get over yourself. I had tried. But lying there in the dark, listening to her breathe, I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't excited. I was scared. And not because I was going to be a father. Because I wasn't sure I was. The next few days were a masterclass in control. She told people before I was ready. Her sister first. Then her mom. Then somehow half her extended family knew before I'd even processed the idea myself. Every time I tried to slow it down, she snapped. Why are you acting weird? Normal guys would be excited. Don't ruin this for me. That last one stuck. She started policing my reactions. If I was quiet, I was cold. If I asked a question, I was stressing her out. If I hesitated even a little, she'd sigh dramatically and say, wow, guess I picked the wrong guy to have a baby with. I learned quickly that enthusiasm was mandatory. Mark, the gay best friend, was suddenly everywhere. At our apartment. At doctor appointments. At dinners. He cried when she told him the news. Actually cried. Hugged her for a long time. Too long. When I mentioned it made me uncomfortable, she exploded. You are not doing this, she snapped. He's my support system. He's more involved because he actually cares. That was the first time she implied I didn't. A week later, she casually mentioned she'd already taken a DNA test. That stopped me cold. Already. I asked. Why? She shrugged. I just wanted peace of mind. Don't make it a thing. I asked where it was. She said she'd lost the paperwork. I didn't believe her. That night, while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop. I wasn't proud of it, but I wasn't wrong either. Her email was still logged in. I searched one word, DNA. There it was. A confirmation email. Results attached. Opened. Forwarded. Then archived. Not deleted. Archived. Like she thought that was clever. I didn't open it yet. I closed the laptop and sat there, heart pounding, realizing something terrifying and clarifying at the same time. She hadn't told me she was pregnant because she trusted me. She told me because she thought she'd already won. And suddenly, the family dinner she insisted on having that weekend made a lot more sense. She framed the family dinner like it was a celebration. Everyone's excited, she said, tapping away on her phone. My parents, my aunt, my cousins. Even Mark's coming. I paused. Why is he coming? She didn't look up. Because he's family. God, you're so dramatic lately. There it was again. That sharp edge, the way she shut things down instead of answering. I didn't argue. I just nodded and filed it away. Over the next 2 days, she became almost cheerful. Overly so. Posting vague Instagram stories about new beginnings and real support. Mark was tagged in half of them. There was even one where he had his hand on her stomach, smiling proudly, while she leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. People commented heart emojis. Congratulated them. I didn't say anything. I still hadn't opened the DNA results. Not because I was scared of what they'd say. I already knew. I was waiting. Timing mattered. The night before the dinner, she cornered me in the kitchen. "You're not going to embarrass me tomorrow, right?" she said, arms crossed. "I swear, if you make this about you." "I won't," I said calmly. She narrowed her eyes. "Good. Because this is supposed to be a happy moment." She went to bed satisfied, confident, certain I'd play my part. I stayed up late, finally opening the attachment on my phone. The results were clear. Brutally clear. Zero ambiguity. Probability of paternity, 0%. Father, Mark. Her gay best friend. The guy she told me I was insane for questioning. The guy who slept on our couch. The guy she accused me of being jealous of. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. What I felt was clarity. The next evening, we sat around her parents' dining table, candles lit, plates full, everyone smiling at her like she'd already won something. She squeezed my hand under the table. Hard. A warning. I squeezed back gently. She had no idea what was coming. And for the first time since she said, "I'm pregnant," I was the calmest person in the room. Dinner started exactly the way she wanted it to. Her mom brought out food like it was a holiday. Her dad poured wine and made jokes about becoming a grandpa. Her aunt kept staring at her stomach like it might move. Mark sat 2 seats away from her, close enough that their knees touched when he leaned in to talk. She glowed. That's the best word for it. Not happy, pleased. Like someone watching a plan unfold exactly as expected. "So," her mom said halfway through the meal, smiling at me, "how does it feel, future dad?" Every face turned toward me. She squeezed my thigh under the table. Not affection. Pressure. "Amazing," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Life-changing." She smiled wide, satisfied, and jumped in immediately. "He's been so supportive," she said, squeezing my hand now for show. "Haven't you, babe?" I nodded, trying my best. Mark laughed a little too loudly. "You're going to be great," he said, raising his glass to her. "You've always wanted this." Always. That word again. I noticed then how comfortable he looked. Not like a friend. Like someone who already knew the ending. Conversation flowed. Names were suggested. Her sister joked about babysitting. Someone asked if we'd thought about moving. That's when she did it. She turned to me, sweet as poison. "Tell them," she said, "about how you were nervous at first." Her eyes locked on mine. A challenge. A test. I took a breath. Set my fork down carefully. "There's something I should share," I said. The table went quiet, smiles freezing midair. She laughed nervously. "Babe, what are you doing?" I reached into my pocket. Her hand tightened on my arm. Hard. "Not now," she whispered through her teeth. "Don't you dare." I pulled out my phone. Her face changed, not to panic yet, but irritation. Like I was breaking character. "I just think," I said calmly, "everyone deserves the full story." Mark stopped smiling. And for the first time all night, she looked unsure. I unlocked my phone and set it face up on the table. She lunged for it. Her chair screeched as she half stood, hands shooting out, nails scraping wood as she missed by inches. "What is wrong with you?" she hissed, smile gone now, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." Her mom frowned. "Honey, just give me 1 second," I said, calm enough that it surprised even me. I tapped the screen and slid it toward the center of the table. Mark leaned back immediately. Too fast. Like someone who recognized a gun before it fired. "This is the DNA test," I said. "The one you said you lost." Her face went pale, then flushed hot red. "That's private," she snapped. "You had no right." "According to this," I continued, reading straight off the screen, "I'm not the father." Silence dropped hard. Her dad cleared his throat. "What?" She laughed. A brittle, frantic sound. "Oh my God, are you serious right now? You're trusting some random test over your own girlfriend?" "It's not random," I said. "It's yours. Sent to your email. Opened. Forwarded. Archived." I scrolled once and turned the phone so everyone could see the names. Probability of paternity, 0%. Father, Mark. Her mom's hand flew to her mouth. Her sister whispered, "Wait, Mark?" All eyes turned to him. Mark stood up so fast his chair tipped over. "This is insane," he said, voice cracking. "You told me you handled it." She spun on him. "Shut up." That single sentence did more damage than anything I could have said. She rounded on me, fury blazing. "You planned this," she snarled. "You set me up." I shook my head. "No. You lied to me. Then you tried to make me clap for it." Her dad stood. "I think you both need to explain." She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. "I don't owe anyone an explanation." Mark didn't follow her. He just stood there, staring at the table, exposed. And as she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the candles flickered, I realized something quietly, unmistakably true. She hadn't been hiding the truth. She'd been hiding me. And now, there was nowhere left to put either of us. The drive home was silent. She sat in the passenger's seat, arms crossed so tight her shoulders were practically touching her ears, staring out the window like the world had personally offended her. I didn't say a word. Neither did she. But the silence wasn't mutual, it was loaded. The second we walked through the apartment door, she exploded. "You absolute psychopath," she snapped, tossing her purse onto the couch. "Do you have any idea what you just did to me?" I set my keys down slowly. I told the truth. "No," she shot back. "You humiliated me. In front of my family. You could have talked to me privately." I laughed once. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. I tried. "You lied. You gaslit me. You planned a whole future around a secret you thought I'd never find." She pointed at me like I was on trial. "You had no right to look through my email. And you had no right to let me believe I was going to be a father," I said. My voice stayed calm, which only made her angrier. She scoffed. "You're acting like you're some victim here. You should have trusted me." "That baby isn't mine," I said. "Trust has nothing to do with it." She went quiet for half a second. Then she laughed, low, bitter, mean. "So what? You think Mark and I planned this together? That he knocked me up on purpose?" I didn't answer. Her eyes flicked away. That was answer enough. She grabbed her phone and started typing furiously. "I can't believe you made me look like a monster," she muttered. "Everyone's texting me. My mom's crying." "You did that," I said. "Not me." She spun around. "If you leave me now, you're the bad guy? You know that, right? Pregnant girlfriend, abandoned. That's the story." I looked at her for a long moment. "Then tell it," I said quietly. "Just don't expect me to play along anymore." She stared at me, realizing for the first time that yelling wasn't working. And that scared her more than the exposure ever did. The morning after was worse than the blow-up. Not louder, just sharper. She woke up early and started moving around the apartment like she owned it in a different way now. Slamming cabinets. Talking loudly on the phone in the bedroom with the door half closed, like she wanted me to hear. "I don't even recognize him," she said to whoever was on the other end. "He planned it. He waited. Who does that?" I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, rereading the DNA results like I needed the reminder to stay grounded. Every few minutes she'd peek out, checking if I was reacting. I didn't give her anything. Around noon, she finally came out and leaned against the doorframe. "So what's the plan?" she asked, tone flat. "Are you leaving, or are you going to keep sulking?" I looked up. "I'm not sulking. I'm deciding how fast I need to leave." She snorted. "Unbelievable. You exposed me at dinner, and now you're the one acting betrayed." "You cheated on me," I said. "You lied. You tried to pass someone else's kid off as mine." She shrugged. Actually shrugged. "It just happened. And Mark is gayish. It's not like I was sneaking around with some random dude." "Gayish? That was new. So that's your defense?" I asked. "Technicalities?" She rolled her eyes. "God, you're exhausting. Plenty of men would step up. Plenty of men wouldn't freak out over DNA." I stood up slowly. "Then find one of them." That's when she finally cracked. Not crying, not apologizing, but lashing out. "You think anyone's going to believe you?" she snapped. "You went through my email. You ambushed me. You ruined my pregnancy announcement. Everyone's already saying you're unhinged." I nodded. "Maybe." She smiled, cruel and confident. "Good. Because I'm not going to be the villain here." That was the moment I understood. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't scared. She was strategizing. And I knew then that staying another night under the same roof wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous. So I went to the bedroom, pulled out a duffel bag, and started packing. She watched from the doorway, arms crossed, lips curled. "You'll be back," she said. "They always come back." I didn't answer. Because for the first time since she said, "I'm pregnant," I was absolutely sure of one thing. I wasn't. I didn't leave immediately. Not because I hesitated, but because I needed documents. Birth certificate, lease copy, bank statements, anything with my name on it. I moved calmly, deliberately, like someone who'd already accepted the ending and was just cleaning up the edges. She followed me from room to room, narrating. "You're seriously abandoning me while I'm pregnant. You know my family will never forgive you. I hope you're happy destroying a child's life." Each sentence was louder than the last. Sharper, designed to draw blood. I didn't engage. When I unplugged my laptop, she scoffed. "Wow, taking your toys and running?" I looked at her. Really looked this time. The woman I defended to friends. The one I'd apologized for. The one who used contempt like punctuation. This isn't your apartment anymore, she said suddenly. I'll call the landlord. You can't just leave me with the bills. The lease is in my name, I replied. I already checked. That made her pause. Just for a second. I zipped the bag and slung it over my shoulder. She blocked the doorway. You're not going anywhere, she said, voice low. We're not done talking. I stepped closer, not aggressive, calm. Move. She hesitated, then stepped aside, muttering, You're making the biggest mistake of your life. I stopped at the door, turned back. No, I said. I almost did. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and softened instantly. It's Mark, she said, like that explained everything. He's coming over. We'll figure this out. I nodded. Good. He should be here. Her smile faltered. Why? Because he's going to need to start stepping up, I said. I won't. That was the first time she looked scared. Not sad. Not angry. Scared. I walked out without waiting for a response. Behind me, I heard her yelling into the phone. Fast, frantic, defensive. For the first time in weeks, the noise wasn't mine to manage. And for the first time since she said, I'm pregnant. I felt free. The aftermath hit faster than I expected. By the next morning, my phone was full. Missed calls, texts, voicemails. Most of them weren't from her. They were from everyone else. Her mom left a shaky voicemail asking me to please reconsider. Her sister sent a paragraph accusing me of cruelty. One of her cousins messaged me on Instagram, saying I didn't have to destroy her like that. Destroy her. Not what she did. Not the lie. Not the DNA test. Just the fact that the truth had been spoken out loud where it couldn't be reburied. She texted me once. Just once. You didn't have to expose me like that. You could have handled this privately. I stared at the message for a long time. Handled it privately meant quietly disappearing. Paying. Supporting. Smiling. Letting her rewrite the story into something where I was still useful and she was still innocent. I didn't reply. Later that day, a mutual friend sent me screenshots. Group chats I hadn't been part of. Messages she'd sent after I left. She said I was abusive, controlling, that I monitored her emails, that I was obsessed with Mark, that the DNA test was out of context. That stress made people say things they didn't mean. Mark, apparently, was stepping up. He was confused. He never meant for this to happen. Funny how nobody ever means to lie for months. That night, I sat in my brother's spare room, the place I'd landed after leaving, and replayed the dinner over and over. Her face when the truth hit the table. The split second where she knew the game was over. I didn't feel guilt. I felt something colder. Closure. Because no matter what version of the story she told next, one thing was now permanent. Everyone at that table knew. And she knew that I knew. Which meant the future she'd planned, where I stayed silent and obedient, was gone. There was only one part left to do. And it didn't involve her at all. The last thing I did was block her number. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. A week after I left, I went back to the apartment with my brother to grab the last of my things. She wasn't there, but Mark's shoes were by the door. That told me everything I needed to know. The future had rearranged itself quickly once I stepped out of the way. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. Later that night, I got one final message from a number I didn't recognize. You didn't have to do it like that. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't ask what that meant. Because here's the truth I've been circling this entire post to get to. There was no version of this where I walked away cleanly in her story. If I stayed, I would have been a fool. If I left quietly, I would have been a villain. If I confronted her privately, I would have been manipulated back into silence. So I chose the only option that didn't require me to lie. I told the truth. I didn't expose her to hurt her. I exposed the situation because I was done being the only one carrying the weight of it. Done being gaslit. Done being told I was insecure for noticing what was right in front of me. The baby isn't mine. The lies were real. And the relationship ended the moment she assumed I'd accept both. I don't know what happens next for her. I don't care who steps up or who rewrites what in whose group chat. That chapter closed the moment I walked out with a duffel bag and my name intact. Right now, I'm staying with my brother. I'm sleeping better than I have in months. I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not doubting my own reality. And for the first time since she said, I'm pregnant, I'm not afraid of what comes next. Because it's finally mine. Bye-bye.